Dreamscape presents A Woman's Story by Ernaux, translated by Tanya Leslie, narrated by Tavia Gilbert. It is said that contradiction is unthinkable, but the fact is that in the pain of a living being, it is even an actual existence. Hegel. My mother died on Monday, April 7th, in the old people's home attached to the hospital at Pontoise, where I had installed her 2 years previously. The nurse said over the phone, "Your mother passed away this morning, after breakfast." It was around 10 o'clock. For the first time, the door of her room was closed. The body had already been washed, and a strip of gauze had been wrapped around her head and under her chin, pushing all the skin up around her eyes and mouth. A sheet covered her body up to her shoulders, hiding her hands. She looked like a small mummy. The cot sides had been taken down and left on either side of the bed. I wanted to slip her into the white nightdress with a crochet border that she had once bought for her own funeral. The nurse told me one of the staff would see to this and would also take the crucifix my mother kept in her bedside drawer and place it on her chest. The 2 screws that pinned the copper arms onto the cross were missing. The nurse wasn't sure they could be replaced. It didn't matter. I wanted her to have her crucifix all the same. On the trolley stood the bunch of forsythia I had brought the day before. The nurse suggested I go straight to the administration office while they drew up an inventory of my mother's personal belongings. She had very few things of her own left: a suit, a pair of blue summer shoes, an electric shaver. At the administration office, a young woman asked me what I wanted. My mother died this morning. Was she registered at the hospital or as a long-term patient? What was her name? She consulted a sheet of paper and gave a faint smile. She had already been informed. She went and fetched my mother's record and asked a few questions about her: where she was born, her last address before being admitted as a long-term patient. These details were probably in the file. In my mother's room, a plastic bag with her belongings had been set aside on the bedside table. The nurse asked me to sign the inventory. I decided not to keep the clothes and other possessions she'd had at the hospital. All I took was a small Savoyard chimney sweep from Annecy and a statuette she and my father had bought when they made the pilgrimage to Lisieux. Now that I was there, my mother could be taken to the hospital morgue. It was customary for the body of the deceased to remain in its room for a period of 2 hours following the time of death.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?